Smart Wi-Fi 150 from Shaw Business is our smartest business internet ever. It has our fastest speeds, smart. It has 3 dedicated connections to keep your work network separate from guests, smart. And it has insightful reports and a custom welcome page, double smart. It even has a smart radio voice.
Aw, thanks for the introduction.
Actually, I was talking about me.
Huh. Power your business with Smart Wi-Fi 150. Details at shawbusiness.ca.
But she's good, too.
This is Nicole Whitney, News for the Soul, life-changing talk radio from the uplifting to the unexplained. It's a great honor to have you on the show tonight. Welcome, Deepak Chopra.
Thank you.
Yes, this is Uri.
You're now tuned in to Nicole Whitney's News for the Soul highlights. Life-changing spotlights she has shared with leading teachers in the human consciousness field since 1997. Go now to NewsForTheSoul.com to hear the full shows totally free. That's NewsForTheSoul.com.
One other experience that you're just gonna, this is just so far off the wall, it's unreal. I wanted to levitate, and this was so important to me. My God, if Thomas Aquinas, 240 pounds, can levitate, surely I can levitate. It's just, I want to levitate. And I would meditate, and then I would think, well, today I can levitate. And I would get in the tub and think maybe I could walk on water, and nothing happened, And this was so funny because my husband kept saying, "You're an idiot." And I said, "No, I'm going to levitate, and I'm not going to let go until I do." But then I came back home, and it was about a month or two later. One morning, I can't describe it. It was a feeling of euphoric. It's such a feeling that you can do anything. But I decided I was going to go to the little chapel right where I lived in Las Colinas in Irving. They have this Catholic chapel, which is about 2 blocks actually from where I live. And I decided to go there and to meditate. And I got out of the car and was feeling just so. All of a sudden, I'm levitating I'd say about 3 inches off the ground. Well, there's a path that goes down, and there's steps, but there weren't any railings. There was nothing to hang on to, and I am petrified. Here I am, a little above, and I'm wobbling, and I'm disoriented. And would you believe I paddled like I would if I was swimming until I finally got to the front of the church, and they had a pillar there, and I put my arms around that pillar, and I said, "Okay, enough already." I'm talking to anybody that can hear me in the unseen world, and then a bunch of students that go to the college there walked up, and I'm still there hanging that post. That was so ridiculous. And then I got into the chapel, and I said, "Okay, take it away from me. I don't want this anymore." So decided I didn't need to levitate. And I'm sitting there. I'm saying, "Oh my God." This is what happened. All the while I worked for that man, things were happening that I was amazed, absolutely amazed. And he says, "Don't tell him this. Don't tell him this." One night he was talking, and we had I'd say about 40 or 50 in that particular class. But I would sit in back of the room because I would always have to be there, to sign people in and to answer questions and to have the coffee pot ready during breaks, etc. And I would sit there, and I would be amazed at all the people that were around Jose that were not in seats, from other dimensions. They were all just as far as I could see. These were beings of people. And one night I'm sitting there and I'm looking because here's some people now that I hadn't really seen that are about, I'd say, 12, 14 feet tall, skinny, just long-looking people. And they're all just standing there behind Jose. During the break, a little woman comes up to me and she said, I'd like to ask you something. She said, I've seen in these other dimensions as far as back as I can remember. But she says, tonight I'm seeing these tall people that are 12 or 14 feet tall. She said, I've never seen those before. Do you see this? And I said, well, I'll ask Jose. So I got to Jose and I said, I said, we're seeing something different tonight here, this little old lady and me. And he said, they're from Venus. And then he walked off. And I would say, somebody, someplace has got to help me. And the phone would ring, and there would be an answer. Now, we can't do this on a physical. We're having help from other realms. That's the only way I can explain it logically, because this happened on a continuing basis.
Was there a lot of mind over matter work in the Silva training?
It was probably one of the most fantastic mental training classes you could have at that time, because, in the 40s and the 50s, everything was the work of the devil. This was a lot of the newspapers wouldn't even let us put ads in their paper because it was the work of the devil. And so there was difficulty advertising it. I mean, people from other dimensions, they have the telepathic abilities by communicating. Let's get in the here and now.
Did you have any other kind of similar experiences with, teleporting or going through solid things or, some of the other things we've heard stories about over the years?
None of this is vivid imagination. You are telepathically being told what to write, and it sounds like fiction or faction. But what it is, it's sort of numbing the public to when all of this transpires, and it's in an ongoing process now, in this evolutionary process. It's happening, but it's an upstepping process, and so eventually all of us will have this capability. Communicating in other dimensions, going to other galaxies, other universes, etc. Light system, plant systems, and so forth. It's just an ongoing process. Well, I get in there with all the grown-ups, and they're at the foot of his bed, and the priest is there, and all of a sudden, through the wall, about, I'd say, 8 or 9 people walk through the wall, and they're kind of elderly, different ages, and my granddad, who is on the bed, and he can just gasping, sits up in bed, smiles, and then gets up, and they embrace him, and he walks through the wall, and while he's walking through the wall, he's laying on the bed. And now there's 2 grandpas there, for this little 4-year-old or 3-year-old or whatever it was. And now I'm seeing that he's walking through this wall, but he's laying there. Well, this sort of perplexed me, and after we went out and everybody's crying, I told my mother, I said, Grandpa didn't have an angel. A lot of people came. He went with a lot of people, but no angel came to take him. And she couldn't understand because, I expected to see this angel and was rather disappointed. And she said, my mother always said, there you go again with a vivid imagination, or you're lying. Don't tell anybody. They'll think you're crazy. So I squelched all that. I really squelched all that.
I don't know if this is going to come out or what.
Hello.
So how many did you see?
Go down.
Okay.
How many do you see?
There's one there, one here. There were two over here that are not.
I saw 3 at one point, yeah.
Just keep focused.
I've been picking any of this up.
That just shot past?
Yep.
Yeah, there. Yeah, there.
See it? There's about 3 of them, and they get a lot bigger than that.
Getting brighter.
There. It was so bright before. Must have been closer or stronger.
It was very big before.
It was huge.
There it is. That's dimmed there.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we were watching last night for hours, but this one that we just saw got really big. There was like about 3 of them.
Ooh. What's it doing now? It's got a reddish hue to it now.
I have no idea if I'm getting this at all. Oh, kill her! They're moving!
Check them out!
Woo! Whoa! Oh God, I hope I'm getting this on film. UFOs, Dave. We've been telling you all night. There's 2.
There's that bunch of llamas running around up there with headlamps on. That's right, it is, isn't it? Mind you, they're moving very quickly.
Yeah, that's pretty fast llamas, Dave. They were up in the sky, and now they're... Yeah.
That is amazing.
Woo! Whoa! I think one's coming over here.
They're not real. I don't know what they are.
Oh my God! One of them looks like it's looking at us. There's 2 lights. There's 3. There's 3 lights now. It's moving really fast. Can you guys see it?
You're now tuned in to Nicole Whitney's News for the Soul highlights. Life-changing spotlights she has shared with leading teachers in the human consciousness field since 1997. Go now to NewsForTheSoul.com to hear the full shows totally free. That's NewsForTheSoul.com.
Hear all of our previously aired broadcasts of News for the Soul online at NewsForTheSoul.com. Now let's get back to the show.
And we're live. I'm Nicole. This is News for the Soul, life-changing talk radio from the uplifting to the unexplained. Can't imagine not having that covered in the next conversation. Last week, we introduced you to one Helen Hadsell, who is an amazing living example of really living and being the law of attraction. For many, many years, she has won every contest she's entered and applied this to her life in many ways in much deeper levels beyond that. So today we're kind of having part 2 of the discussion where we left off. Hopefully we'll start there. Let's welcome her on and start the fun. Helen, welcome back to News for the Soul.
I'm here.
Hi, how are you today?
Great. I was just listening to your entree, and it reminded me of Peru.
Yes, I've actually got some very interesting audio clips from Peru that you didn't hear there yet. We did some interesting work there in reliving some of the processes in the sacred sites with Shaman Bridge Jorge Luis Delgado, and we had amazing experiences over there.
Let's close our eye, we take our hands, I promise you I will have my open eye, okay? Then we will take you to a place that it is nice to see the place, okay? And after that, when you see with the spiritual eye, you just open your eye. Okay? So it is very important for us to practice, and in special in the power places. So your spiritual eye gets wider. Okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, Pascual is with us also. He's going to give us some information. And we said, ¿sabes qué? ¿Por qué no lo corremos nomás hasta ese punto y de ahí, punto? ¿Ya?
Okay, good afternoon, friends, to everybody.
Hello.
Later I will explain many things.
Yeah, it's definitely been a strong influence on me ever since that moment of experiencing Peru. It was very powerful.
Did you visit the egg lady while you were there?
No, who's the egg lady?
Of course, I was there 2.5 months, and so I was able to get into places that not the ordinary person can get into. Because I wasn't doing really psychic work, I was doing self-awareness classes. But the wealthy entrepreneur that sponsored me introduced me to a lot of interesting people, and one was the egg lady, and she is the healer there in Lima. And when I went there, what she requires, when you call her, she requires that you bring a dozen fresh eggs directly from the market. And when you get there, you're laying on a cot, and she takes an egg and runs it over your body. And then she just is sort of mumbling and whatever it is, and then she breaks the egg in front of you. And sometimes there's black in it, sometimes there's blood in it, sometimes there's just like gook, really. Ew. And then she deposits that in a container, and you're watching this whole procedure. And then she'll tell you, well, someone has given evil thoughts to you, and it's concentrated in your stomach or in your throat or whatever. And she continues to do this until the eggs are clear, where there's no more of this information, anything that's negative in it. And then you get up and you see all these eggs and the gook and so forth. Now you have a clear egg, and then you give her the money for what you think it's worth, donation, and then you're healed. And then you walk out and you feel great. Well,
wow.
Yes. And so what I was doing the workshop over there, one of the students highly recommended her and said she'd never gone to a doctor because the egg lady could heal her. And I thought, this I've got to see. So we made an appointment, and I get over there, and I have my dozen eggs, and I get into her inner sanctum, and I'm about ready to lay on the cot, and she looks at me, and she said, you know what I'm doing. Why are you here? And first a minute I was a little startled, and I said, no, I'm sincere. And she said, are you trying to disprove me, or are you here monitoring me, or whatever? And then I said, no. Well, then I realized, she has tremendous sensed that I wasn't legit. And I said, no, I was actually here for a healing. And she said, you don't need a healing. You know what I'm doing. Well, then I established a rapport, and I found out that her mother did this, her grandmother did this in the villages, and that's the way they made their income, was doing this. And then I also realized when you're in the presence of someone that has tremendous abilities, mind over matter abilities, what you're seeing as she's depositing these eggs into this thing, creating thoughts, and then you can, something like the fakers in India, that illusion is what it is. And so illusion was what she was doing. There were no, to my knowledge, there wasn't any black in an egg or blood in an egg or anything. It was just illusion, and she was projecting it to you, and you could see it. And so I thought, now that's interesting, but I said, no. I said, I just came here to meet you, and I'm glad that you're able to help people to help themselves, because a lot of these things are psychosomatic, and eventually they'll be healed anyway. So if you can convince them that they can do this, and then more power to you. I'm so glad I met you, and then we left on a good note. So that was great.
Wow. You found that there was it all thought form? Was there any, did you feel it was beyond just changing thoughts? Anything legitimate going on physically with it?
No. No, this is all illusion. And because she immediately knew that, she broke an egg, I would not you can't put the bull over my eyes.
Right.
I've been in this long enough to know what people can do. And yes, several times I've been fooled in this research that I do. I'm not naive. I'm not a skeptic. I just observe, and I want to understand, and I discern in every area that I get into. While I was there also, I was very, well, I could say sought after, because this entrepreneur that invited me owned the radio station, the discotheque, and was very, very wealthy, and he had influential friends. And so these people would come for I took the tarot cards, and, doing the tarot has nothing to do with what you pick up when you're reading for people. You're sitting beside them in their aura, and you can read them. So what else is new? I think everybody has this capability, but they don't realize it. And so that's, in essence, what I was doing. And then most of the people spoke English. There were a few of them that I couldn't communicate with on this basis, but when I first got into Peru, my friend that sponsored me had a morning coffee for me, where all his wealthy friends came. And as I was standing there, a woman that was an artist and originally came from, I believe, from Russia, came in and embraced me and started sobbing and said she was so glad to see me again. And I kind of looked at her, and then all of a sudden it rang a bell, and I said, "Were we nuns together in Spain?" And she said, "Yes, yes, yes. I never thought I would meet you again." And she said, "While you're here, I'm going to interpret for you. I speak 7 languages, and you're going to be here for several months, and we're really going to have an interesting exchange of ideas." And from that point on, we were hooked together continuously. Many times I was invited to very wealthy homes on the outskirts of Peru. They would come in their chauffeur limousines with their guards and then take me on the premise, and I saw some things there that would just boggle my mind. Some of these wealthy landowners had their own bakeries. They had maid services, and one particular family that I spent several days with, and she was very impressed. She wanted me to stay there as her house guest for 2 months, which I declined. But the morning I got there, her maid came in with a loaf of bread, and she said she made it just for me, that I could cut it, and she made it with love, and it was a fun thing. Even if I couldn't communicate with some of their language, I could still, pick up their energy, and it was all very, very satisfying, comforting, rewarding. And when I was there was rioting on the streets and curfew, but I never was apprehensive, even when I was in Cusco. And, you would go on the streets and you were told never to wear jewelry or purses or anything. They would cut off your ear or cut off your finger for a ring, or at least that's what I was told. But you put the protective light around you. You don't worry about this. So I would just go where I wanted to go, do what I wanted to do. And even one of the young men that was the desk clerk at the 5-star hotel that I stayed in Cusco, he just couldn't believe that I would go out on my own without a guard. He insisted that somebody go with me. And I said, no, I wasn't concerned about this. So it was an interesting thing. And then when I went into Cusco, I could see through walls. When I went into the monasteries and when the Spaniards came over and took all the gold from the Peruvians and brought over their belief systems that if you didn't believe in Jesus and their concepts that you would be annihilated. And it was a very, very sad period in history because of the power and greed mode in the name of Jesus or in the name of a religion that they believed in. But it was all greed and power, and it was a very sad situation. I just would go around and observe. Didn't make a big fuss about it. And one time I was invited to one of the women there that is very, very, very psychic, and she worked for the government. I spent a day with her. She said she would lay out maps of Peru and then run her fingers through the map, big table they had for her, and she could tell when there would be earthquakes, and she would warn the people in that particular area to move out of that area because there were always underlying earthquakes there. And she was very unpretentious. And then while we were there, I also was invited to a private home where this man indicated that there was a man in the environment there that claimed he was from the planet Trone, Trune. I've never heard of that planet. And he said the man would come and he would write in any language that he wanted to write. He said he was diversified, he was intelligent, and the man that claimed, we went to his home as guests there, and with 4 or 5 of the other followers of this man that came from Trone. And I said, well, I'd like to see him. And the man that owned the home there said, well, he's not available, and he comes in and out, and we never know when he's here. And he was going on and on about how important he was and how he would write information, and then he starts showing me what the information was, and it was in a different language that I couldn't read, couldn't even understand. But one of the gals that was there translated it for me, and it just sounded like our Bible. You know, there was nothing profound. You know, the 10 Commandments, do unto others as you would. It was all positive, all positive. And he said, he claimed that if we practiced these principles, there would be no more wars, there would be no more illness, and he came in peace, and he was going to start out in Peru. And so I thought, well, this is very interesting. But I said, don't you have a picture of him? What? Nothing? And the man, he said, no, you can't take his picture. And I said, can you describe him? And he said, well, yes, I can describe him. And then something else happened, and I was sitting beside the woman that reads the maps. And all of a sudden I said, do you see this man in the corner that's looking at us? And she said, no, but I can feel him. And I said, well, I can see him. I wonder if he's a thought form, or is he, comes from his own volition, which sometimes you call an epiphany. And he was just there smiling. And in a minute, he smiled, and then he faded away. And she said, well, I felt tremendous energy, and I knew it wasn't with any of the 5 of us that were in that room. And then I asked our host, I said, can you describe the man that claim comes periodically in and out and writes all these things? And I said, well, let me describe him. And I described him. And he said, oh, you saw him. And I said, well, did you see him a little while ago? Things like that just fascinate me. And what fascinates me more is when someone can see what I see without sitting beside me. Because if you sit beside me, then you can probably see the same thing that I can. So I want to remove myself completely, and then you're on your own. So what do you see? I mean, that always intrigued me.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, when you're getting validation like that, and you're having your own direct experience with it, that's so powerful. It's like about 1 billion questions I want to ask you, of course, but we don't have time for 1 billion. So,
well, that was Peru. That was well, there were so many other things. Christmas Day, I was at a mental institution. One of the women that came for readings, husband was in there, and this guide appeared while I was talking to her, and he wanted to get out of this institution. And so I didn't say anything, and I said, well, why don't you release him, and then he can lead his life, you can lead your life, and that's it. And she said, well, I'm still fearful of him. I will have my driver pick you up, and we'll take you to visit him Sunday, which was Christmas. And I said, okay. She said, he's not even going to know we're coming or anything. I just want you to observe him, study him, and then if you tell me it's okay, then I will release him, because he'd been there 3-4 years. The rules in Peru, when you're in a mental institution, your funds are frozen. And she was without money, and they were very, very wealthy. And so it was in details that you're not interested in. But as I'm walking up, this is a private mental institution where drove up, and we're coming to the door to open. The guard is opening the door, and this man comes hurrying toward me, and he comes over to me. He said, you're the one that's going to get me out of here. And I said, well, why don't we talk?
You're now tuned in to Nicole Whitney's News for the Soul highlights. Life-changing spotlights she has shared with leading teachers in the human consciousness field since 1997. Go now to NewsForTheSoul.com to hear the full shows totally free. That's NewsForTheSoul.com.
So that's always interesting. You know, when I don't really and truly set anything up, one other experience that you're just going to, this is just so far off the wall, it's unreal. I wanted to levitate, and this was so important to me. My God, if Thomas Aquinas, 240 pounds, can levitate, surely I can levitate. It's just, I want to levitate. And I would meditate, and then I would think, well, today I can levitate. And I would get in the tub and think maybe I could walk on water, and nothing happened, you know. And this was so funny because my husband kept saying, you're an idiot. And I said, no, I'm going to levitate, and I'm not going to let go until I do. Well, at that time I was on lecture tour, and I was up in Chicago, and I had just done a talk show, and I'm getting ready that night to have what I just call an introductory lecture. Most of these people wanted to be winners, and actually what I did the first night was do a book review on the Name It and Claim It game, and then I would say if there's anyone that wants to know more about themselves, and then Saturday and Sunday I would do workshops. And anyway, I was just getting ready to do my program when the man sponsored me. He says, there's an old man that wants to talk to you. Now, I want to tell you something. I had never mentioned to anyone on the air, or anybody knew that I had this desire to levitate except myself and my husband. The only two people that knew. But this old man approaches me and said, honey, you don't want to levitate. And I said, what? He said, you don't want to levitate. And I said, why do you say that? And he said, well, while you were on the talk show, your guides told me to approach you. You don't want to levitate, young lady. He said, it's a nuisance. He said, I do this, and I'm living in the country, and I have my dog, and I like to walk the woods. And in the morning, when I levitate, he said, it's such a nuisance, I have to hang by a tree until I finally am grounded. But if you're going to insist on it, he said, pretend like you're wading in water, you know, with your hands, paddling in water like you're swimming. And he says, that's the only way you can be balanced when you're off the ground. And he was so serious. And I thought, well, I said, thank you for that information, and I appreciate it. And then he walked off. And the man that sponsored me said, what was that all about? He was so insistent on talking to you. And I said, oh, we'll discuss it later. And then I didn't. But then I came back home, and it was about a month or two later. One morning, I can't describe it. It was a feeling of euphoric. It's such a feeling that you can do anything. But I decided I was going to go to the little chapel right where I lived in Las Colinas in Irving. They have this Catholic chapel, which is about 2 blocks actually from where I live. And I decided to go there and to meditate. And I got out of the car and was feeling just so. All of a sudden, I'm levitating about 3 inches off the ground. Well, there's a path that goes down, and there's steps, but there weren't any railings. There was nothing to hang on to, and I am petrified. Here I am, a little above, and I'm wobbling, and I'm disoriented. And would you believe I paddled like I would if I was swimming until I finally got to the front of the church, and they had a pillar there, and I put my arms around that pillar, and I said, okay, enough already. I'm talking to anybody that can hear me in the unseen world. And then a bunch of students that go to the college there walked up, and I'm still there hanging that post. That was so ridiculous. And then I got into the chapel, and I said, okay, take it away from me. I don't want this anymore. So decided I didn't need to levitate.
You're now tuned in to Nicole Whitney's News for the Soul highlights. Life-changing spotlights she has shared with leading teachers in the human consciousness field since 1997. Go now to NewsForTheSoul.com to hear the full shows totally free. That's NewsForTheSoul.com.
But why? See, to me, life is either a daring adventure or nothing. And I'm telling you, I would get in with people or places or things that each time I came home from a lecture tour, I'd be on maybe 2 or 3 weeks. My son, who was going to college that time, and my husband and my son would say, "Don't tell Dad anything until I get home. I want to hear it." Because it was always so different. So I'm so pleased that my guides, all I can say is I'm so pleased that I was able to have all these experiences, and most of them, to me, are very credible, to me actually happened, and there's no logical explanation except people will say, well, you're lucky, or it's a coincidence, or it's a happenstance, and I don't believe in that anymore. I don't believe in coincidence. There's just no way, because there were just too many things that happened. When I was working for Jose as PR, he wanted me to go and open the Chicago area. And I said, I don't want to get on a plane. I'm not that qualified to handle all this. Get yourself another girl. He would say to me, we'll talk about it. And that night I came home and I said, he thinks I'm going to go to Chicago and find a suitable mating place, put ads in the paper for him. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't need to do it. And my husband, who was very grounded, and really and truly, we were married 60 years, so I think he needed me and I needed him. But anyway, he said, you've taken the silver classes. Why don't you practice what you preach? Because I didn't really enjoy being on a plane. I had some kind of a phobia over. I just didn't care for it, and so I became hurt actually because he's siding now with Jose, and Jose left for back home, and I'm supposed to now make all these arrangements to go to Chicago. Well, that next morning, after a night of acting like a child and pouting, I sat there. My husband was off to work. Kids were gone, and I said, okay, if I'm supposed to go to Chicago, somebody better help me. If this is supposed to be that Jose goes in there and shares his experiences, then I need some help here. I swear it was not 10 minutes later when the phone rang, and it was Mrs. Hadsell. I said, yeah, I'm Mary Green, and that's her name. And she said, I read an article in Pageant magazine, a publication that's no longer available, but there was an article that I co-wrote with someone about entering contests. And she said, I read about you in this article. I'm not interested in contesting, but you said one paragraph about Jose and how you stopped the bleeding with mind over matter. I must meet this man. Where can I attend one of his classes? And I said, well, I'm supposed to come to Chicago and set up a suitable meeting place and do ads in the paper and have a room full of people for him when he comes. Oh, no, you don't have to do that. She said, I represent a shoe company here, and I make all arrangements for various companies that come in here for conventions. So I'll find you. I'll get your room free, and I will put ads in the paper. And what else can I do for you? You don't have to come here. And I'm sitting there, I'm saying, oh, my God. This is what happened. All the while I worked for that man, things were happening that I was amazed, absolutely amazed. And she set up all of this for me. Didn't have to do a thing. It happened the same way when I was to go to Detroit. There was a man that volunteered. I never even said anything. All I did was telepathically communicate. And I would say, somebody, someplace has got to help me. And the phone would ring, and there would be an answer. Now, we can't do this on a physical. We're having help from other realms. That's the only way I can explain it logically, because this happened on a continuing basis.
Was there a lot of mind over matter work in the Silva training?
It was probably one of the most fantastic mental training classes you could have at that time, because, you know, in the 40s and the 50s, everything was the work of the devil. This was a lot of the newspapers wouldn't even let us put ads in their paper because it was the work of the devil. And so there was difficulty advertising it. And Jose was so low-keyed, and he knew. In fact, when I started working for him, and he says, don't tell him this. Don't tell him this. One night, he was talking, and we had I'd say about 40 or 50 in that particular class. But I was sitting back of the room because I was always have to be there, you know, to sign people in and to answer questions and to have the coffee pot ready during breaks, etc. And I would sit there and I would be amazed at all the people that were around Jose that were not in seats, I mean, from other dimensions. They were all just as far as I could see. These were beings of people. And one night, I'm sitting there, and I'm looking because here's some people now that I hadn't really seen that are about, I'd say, 12, 14 feet tall, skinny, just long-looking people, and they're all just standing there behind Jose. During the break, a little woman comes up to me, and she said, I'd like to ask you something. She said, I've seen in these other dimensions as far as back as I can remember. But she says, tonight I'm seeing these tall people that are 12 or 14 feet tall. She said, I've never seen those before. Do you see this? And I said, well, I'll ask Jose. So I got to Jose, and I said, I said, we're seeing something different tonight here, this little old lady and me. And he said, they're from Venus. And then he walked off. So I told her, I said, they're from Venus. And she said, I said, why did you come here? And she said, I heard about him. We had a radio talk show that day. And I said, I heard, and my guides told me that I had to come and to meet him and to take his class. That's how she got there. But those were things like, so what else is new?
You know, I keep thinking that you either never shut yourself down from these experiences, or you must have had some really dramatic things happen before all of this came about, you know, when you were a child.
Yes. At the age of, I think, 3 or 4, when I was born a Catholic and raised a Catholic, and everything was church, etc. And my grandmother had this huge picture of an angel, and she always talked about the angels, you know, taking care of me, etc. And then when my granddad became so ill with asthma, and he was on his deathbed, she said the angels were going to come to take him. And so the funeral, I mean, he was in the bed, and all the family was surrounded with the family, and I'm just a little kid playing with my cousins and nephews and nieces in the back, and the older people were in the house, and the priest had just come to perform extreme unction, you know, last rites. But we were, as grandchildren, we were called in to say goodbye to Granddad. And so we all went in, and Grandmother was sitting in her chair, and she said the angels were coming to get him, and I assumed this angel was coming to get him. And so after we went out, I insisted that I wanted to be in the room to watch the angel come and get him. And my mother couldn't control me. I mean, I was creating a scene, and she said, all right, you can stay in here, but, she said, don't you say a word. Well, I get in there with all the grown-ups, and they're at the foot of his bed, and the priest is there, and all of a sudden, through the wall, about, I'd say, 8 or 9 people walk through the wall, and they're kind of elderly, different ages, and my granddad, who is on the bed, and he can just gasping, sits up in bed, smiles, and then gets up, and they embrace him, and he walks through the wall, and while he's walking through the wall, he's laying on the bed. And now there's 2 grandpas there, you know, for this little 4-year-old or 3-year-old or whatever I was. And now I'm seeing that he's walking through this wall, but he's laying there. Well, this sort of perplexed me, and after we went out and everybody's crying, I told my mother, I said, Grandpa didn't have an angel. A lot of people came. He went with a lot of people, but no angel came to take him. And she couldn't understand because, I expected to see this angel and was rather disappointed. And she said, well, my mother always said, there you go again with a vivid imagination, or you're lying. Don't tell anybody. They'll think you're crazy. So I squelched all that. I really squelched all that. And yet, even when people came, I'd say, if I went to Mass, we had to go to Mass every morning before we went to school. And there would be a funeral there. And I kid you not, here would be this casket, and this man would be in the funeral, but he'd be sitting there looking out at the audience. There were so much. I couldn't understand any of this, and I just sort of thought, I'm not going to tell anybody. They'll think I'm crazy. They may even put me in that crazy place that one of the neighbors had been in for being crazy, and I thought, if I keep saying that, that's what they'll do with me. So I never discussed any of this. I just let it go. And then when I was 17 years old, I had rheumatic fever, and I was in bed and really incapacitated. And at that time, there wasn't anything they could do except bed rest and liniment, and then penicillin about that time came out, and the local doctor would come and monitor me and give me a shot of penicillin. Well, one morning he came and he said, he can't do that anymore because my heart, now if there's a valve that's open, my heart is enlarged, leakage of the heart and so forth. She's allergic to it. Can't give her any more aspirin. And he says, we're just going to let God take over. And I heard him while he was discussing it with my mother. And so that night, and I was really, if you've ever had rheumatic fever, it jumps from one area to another. It is utter agony. And they prayed and so forth, but nothing seemed to help it. But that night, I got very angry, and I said, okay, I want to die. I'm ready to go. I don't want to be here and be a burden any longer. And if I can't get up and do anything, I'm going to die. And that's when this being appeared. And he said, you can't. He said, you came in here to do something, and you haven't started yet. You're healed. And when he said I was healed, and then he left. And I shouted to my mother, I said, come in here. And she came in. I said, this man was here, and he said I was healed. And she said, oh, you just had a dream. So she threw back the covers, and my ankles were still swollen, and my arms were swollen. And she said, see, you just had a nice dream. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And the next morning, I jumped out of bed, and I said, I'm going back to school. I'm healed. And she looked at me, and she said, we're going to call the doctor and see what he thinks. And he came by later that afternoon and checked me over, and he said, I guess it's taken its course. She's perfectly all right. Let her go back to school. And that was one of the experiences I had at 17.
You mentioned the levitation, which
yeah.
I'm assuming you didn't do anymore.
No, I didn't do anymore.
Did you have any other kind of similar experiences with, teleporting or going through solid things or, some of the other things we've heard stories about over the years?
I can't, right off the bat, I can't remember. I can't think. I do know that when I had something, people prior to my knowledge of me knowing anything about it, things would happen. And I always attributed it to my guardian angels appreciating or like clapping of hands or whatever I was doing, if I was doing something like a reward, These things were very prevalent while I was out on the lecture circuit. Absolutely. I mean, some of the things that happened to me would just, I would squeal with delight because they were unexpected. One case, an example, I was, June 1st was my birthday, and I'm out in some place in California, and I'm to have this workshop on Saturday, I believe it was, and Friday, I went to bed that night, and all of a sudden I hear Born Free, da-da-da-da, the song, Born Free, you know. And I'm in this hotel, and I'm thinking, it's in the middle of the night. And what is that, where's that coming from? So I go out on the balcony, and I thought, well, maybe the room next door was playing music. But it was coming in, Born Free, the whole song. And what I had done the week prior to my birthday, I had asked, do I have any karma, do I have any balancing to do that I'm not aware of? Please show me if I do. Because, you know, sometimes when I'm doing charts, I pick up, hey, you're supposed to balance this. And at that time, I wanted to know if I still needed to balance something. Well, all I knew, after I heard Born Free, I thought, okay, this is the first day of the rest of my life, my birthday. And so evidently, I don't have any more karma. And that's what I assumed and let it go at that. Well, I finished my workshop. No one, my sponsor, knew I had a birthday, and so unbeknownst to me, she had set up a party in her private home for a few select friends that were attending the class, and she said she'd like to come and have dinner at her home. And I said, sure. So when I got there, we went downstairs. She had a mammoth place, and we go downstairs, and everybody jumped and said happy birthday, and she had this cake and this buffet all laid out. But what was so fascinating, this huge, huge, huge room, there were 3 pianos. I recall a red one and a white one and a mahogany. And all of a sudden, this old woman shuffles up towards us, and she said, I want you to meet my mother. My mother was a pianist, and she was with the Philharmonic Orchestra, and this piano was given to her when she was in France, and she still plays, and what would you like to hear? And this woman nudged her daughter and says, I know what I'm supposed to play for her. And she wobbles on back to the piano and starts playing Born Free, da-da-da-da-da, you know, with emphasis that the windows vibrated. And she plays the whole song of Born Free, and then she shuffles back up to us and pats me and smiles and walks off. Okay, how does this happen? I mean, what happened here? I had no control over any of this. And those were things that would happen to me, just out of the blue. And, well, out of the blue, I would say guidance. I mean, people from other dimensions, they have the telepathic abilities by communicating. Let's get in the here and now. I'm concerned right now. I'm going to digress here a minute, because I'm concerned about our home security system here, that we're having all of these shows now. Let's say one of them is Dash Forward, Pass Forward, some of the E.T. shows, many of the shows that are now being seen, the Ghost Whisperer to some degree to the medium, etc., that are introducing people to other dimensions, other galaxies, other universes, etc. Well, our home security system was concerned about Point Forward is the show. Was the most recent one, and they would approach the writers of these shows and ask, where did you get your information? They would think there was a leak in our government that has access to all this information, incidentally. No, the writers would say, this is vivid imagination. None of this is vivid imagination. You are telepathically being told what to write, and it sounds like fiction or faction. But what it is, it's sort of numbing the public to when all of this transpires, and it's in an ongoing process now, in this evolutionary process. It's happening, but it's an upstepping process. And so eventually, all of us will have this capability, communicating in other dimensions, going to other galaxies, other universes, etc. Light system, plant systems, and so forth. It's just an ongoing process.
What an interesting note to have to leave it on today. Oh, boy. Well,
are we through?
We are. It just zips by. I could talk to you forever. I swear to God.
You're now tuned in to Nicole Whitney's News for the Soul highlights. Life-changing spotlights she has shared with leading teachers in the human consciousness field since 1997. Go now to NewsForTheSoul.com to hear the full shows totally free. That's NewsForTheSoul.com.
How would you like to learn how to bend metal with your mind for real? Well, you can. News for the Soul is home to the one and only Spoon Bending Kit, an instantly downloadable digital gift that contains 2 hours of audio and visual instructions designed to get your mind out of the way and teach you how to truly affect solid matter just with your thoughts. Find out once and for all how you are affecting your reality with every thought you think. Don't let anything block you from creating the life that you want. Download the NewsForTheSoul.com Spoon Bending Kit today. Just go to NewsForTheSoul.com right now and click on the bent spoon. That's NewsForTheSoul.com.
Now, you can take News for the Soul Radio with you. Our free new app is now live on Google Play and Apple Store. Listen to live and archived shows and much more. Search for News for the Soul in your app store. That's News for the Soul.
You're listening to News for the Soul, life-changing talk radio since January 1997. We'll be right back with more in a moment. But first, I'd like to tell you about an amazing opportunity to tell our listeners about what you do. We're currently looking for like-minded services and products to feature in our upcoming Gifts for the Soul series. If what you have to offer can change lives, then we want to hear from you. Go to newsforthesoul.com right now and send us an email. That's newsforthesoul.com.
We all love to hear the good news, so we all should rush to hear the good news. But we can just find the good news. NSTS, NSTS. News for the soul at the very best. NSTS, NSTS. News for the soul at the very best. NSTS, NSTS. News for the soul at the very best. Yeah man, just log on to www.newsforthesoul.com. You hear me? We are a life-changing talk radio. We give you good news to keep you on the go. And you can also share the good news you know. And that's the way we keep in the flow. We only focus on the positive things, yeah. We only focus on the positive things, yeah. We not go put none of the negative in there. We not go put none of the negative in there. NFTS, NFTS. News for the soul at the very best. NFTS, NFTS. News for the soul at the very best. Log on to www.newsforthesoul.com. Every time, come hear the good news, share the good news. And we all feeling good for the good news.
Hear all of our previously aired broadcasts of News for the Soul online at newsforthesoul.com. Now let's get back to the show.
Okay, we're live. I think we've got our issues sorted out. Yay! I'm Nicole Marie Whitney. This is News for the Soul Live. Life-changing talk radio from the uplifting to the unexplained. Just so you know, we really are live in this moment, July 31st, 2013. And she's here live in this moment with me. Yay! I've just confirmed it in the screening room, and we are good to go. Alexis Cartwright from Transference Healing is here with more amazing healing energy and goodies and all kinds of things for us today. So I'm very excited. Alexis, welcome back. How are you?
Hi, Nicole. Good. How are you?
I'm neat. I am very neat.
Good. Good. Good.
It's been interesting, and I can't wait to get your perspective on all the energies and stuff. Jesus,
I don't know how you're going to feel about that once I start talking about what's going on. No, it's all very positive, but it is intense. So it's good just being aware of what's going on and having the tools to work with it and having the energy come through to support it. Because when these events take place energetically on the planet, it's a great opportunity to master and break some patterning and genetic weaknesses and so forth so we can make that divine ascension that we're all going through. So basically, I've done a few things here. I've looked at, pretty much tuned into what I feel energetically is going on from August now, probably from beginning of July through to December. And kind of going to talk a bit about that, what I feel happening energetically there. And I've put some procedures together to support that process that's coming through. I've also reflected on my own process and what I'm feeling and what I'm having to work through. So it's pretty much confirmation to what I'm sensing intuitively. But also, too, I've looked at a little bit of astrology as well for confirmation, which I'll bring in. And I'll be working with, a few different transference procedures today and channel procedures to basically, you could say, template or work with our patterning in preparation and to support us, not just for the now, not for what we're feeling now, but for the next 6 months. So the healings that will come through today will pretty much resonate in your patterning or in your etheric body, in your body and consciousness, and hold you energetically and cocoon you, and will come through in different ways for you because you've already had the healing. So it'll support you definitely over the next 6 months as well. And I feel that basically the previous channeling that we did last month really was working in alignment with what I'm feeling now anyway. So we've done our preparation work with the purification techniques that we went through. And the healings that I'll be doing with you leading up to the end of the year will just be solidifying and helping the process that we're doing here today. So pretty much it's a long-term healing, basically, to work with some big triggers that are coming through energetically for us. The first thing that I feel I want to talk about is the kind of symptoms that I see manifesting for people individually and collectively for us as a whole. The first thing is I feel that there's going to be a little bit of high anxiety going on, especially through the mental plane and the central nervous system. And basically part of that is because of the energies that are coming through. The other thing is people having to deal with dynamics around power plays, issues around politically around power, dynamics coming out karmically with people and finding it difficult to resolve relationship issues or issues that are being triggered around the work environment that brings up anger or frustration at times, and might even, to some people, coming through on a more of a political level around finances and issues to deal with on a financial level. So that will be playing out a little bit for people as well, and I'll be working with that as well. And the third thing here is, well, we've talked about, clearing some high anxiety that could come through for some people in the mental plane and anxiety overall, issues around power plays to deal with and how it impacts our energy and our sense of self. But the third thing also, too, is triggers in regards to acknowledging and identifying with our belief system or faith in general. So I've also done an animal magic reading for the group today, and it pretty much confirmed what I see happening for people. We got Raven, which is the animal magic deck that I brought out, Raven, Seahorse, and Crab, and I will bring that into play as well and explain why that reading came through for people and how it basically confirms. So the first thing is that there are some very strong astrological alignments and dynamics playing out and started from early July and really peaking around August, September, and pretty much finishing this whole energetic activation process that I feel is just really to make us work through issues and resolve karmic issues so that we can make a huge transition, and that will complete itself pretty much around Christmas to near the end of December. So the first thing I want to talk about is in the first part of August, around the end of July, August, there's a connection with Pluto that's coming through. That's Jupiter and Pluto. And basically, that's making us look more at our belief system and faith in general. And we're also in the a time period of Chiron in Pisces. So basically, it's saying to people that to really start internalizing more, and when you're feeling triggered or issues that are coming up, basically, it's to see it as an opportunity to raise your vibration. And I'll talk about how to do that in a moment, and to actually reinforce your connection to the light and know that everything that is going on at this point in time, specifically now from July through to December, is the clearing of old karmic patterning, basically. Because basically what's happening also, we have a Scorpio connection, Saturn with Scorpio, that's actually reflecting more around the time of September, that we're actually coming to the end of a huge karmic cycle. So what's actually happening for people is our DNA is being triggered right now to clear old genetic patterning. So old, in our unconscious mind, we connect to painful issues from the past, whether it's this lifetime or past lives. And that's what's creating the high anxiety. And a lot of the time, the way that we're feeling is not actually happening in reality. It's old energy that's actually coming up to be cleared. So we're actually being triggered by this Saturn and Scorpio connection to actually raise our vibration and to really work through the emotion and whatever anxiety that brings up in us, or fears that come up, or issues that are being created that's bringing fear up, to recognize that we're actually clearing old karmic patterning. That is, that it's not something that's happening in the now, that on an unconscious level, because we've got that Pluto-Scorpio connection, is that we're actually clearing old unresolved emotions from the past, whether it's past your inner child or your past lives. So this is happening astrologically. We're being triggered in our DNA, basically, to bring up old residue of pain or unresolved issues, to recognize they're no longer irrelevant in us, that they no longer exist as we work through them, that you're clearing that karmic patterning. The other thing that's happening, we have a huge cardinal cross coming through around the end of July. And this basically is helping us resolve unresolved feelings, basically. So we're no longer putting ourselves on the cross, so to speak. We're at a point in our lives where we're starting to really recognize that we have the power to lift our vibration and to recognize that we can heal ourselves, that we no longer need to be a victim of our own karma, and that by doing that at this point in time, we're resolving long-term karmic pain, basically. The positive side to all of this is that there's a planetary alignment starting from the end of July that they call the tetrahedron alignment, or the pyramid in the sky. But basically, I feel that this alignment, even though it's happening around the end of July, is the pinnacle reason why everything's happening at this point in time with the other planetary alignments. It's basically saying if you can actually not react and go into power plays with others, if you cannot externalize and play out negative patterning, if you can, in fact, raise your vibration and work through some issues or emotions that are coming up for you and raise your vibration, you are, in fact, clearing karmic triggers and old genetic distortions in your patterning. And at this incredible time, because of the tetrahedron planetary alignment, you can infuse light into your being to create an incredible state of a shift of consciousness and a deep state of reconnection to spirit, and that comes back to your faith again. So it's really about, on an individual level, we're all going to be triggered this way. But on a global level, there will be dynamics coming up around issues around religion, maybe, the Vatican, you can see things playing out there at the moment, the East and the West, and our own belief systems spiritually on an individual level. You'll see that playing out. You'll also see issues playing out politically around changes and so forth. And, of course, we're recognizing that that's just a global reflection of what we're actually doing internally. The internal process is very important, that we really need to, at this point in time, really be connecting to the light and this incredible energy that's coming through this tetrahedron alignment, which is an infusion of what we call Christ light or pure white light. And I'll explain that a little bit more in a moment. And what we can't just say, okay, I'm going to sit down and meditate today, and I'm going to infuse the tetrahedron light into my body, and I'm going to have a huge shift in consciousness and make a deeper reconnection to the light, and I'm going to enter the golden age and all my problems are going to go away. I wish it was that simple. But we can set the intent to align to it, that we know that it's happening. The way to really, truly infuse this light into our being is to clear our patterning, basically. To actually do the internal work by working on ourselves energetically. So I'll do some meditations to help with that today. But also the way we feel and how we act to those emotions and how we react to the world around us and others will determine basically how much light you infuse in. So if you're setting the intent, which we are doing today, to receive this gateway opportunity of infusing this amazing light that's being infused into our universe as a whole by the tetrahedron alignment, we're setting the intent, and so of course we're going to receive it, but we're also doing the internal work in making the realization of how we can truly embody it. And by doing this clearing process, we can actually then make a huge change. So basically, the first thing that we need to be really watching and looking at is basically how we deal with issues around power and energy. So if you're feeling over-emotional, recognize that emotion a lot of the time, or whatever karmic issues are playing out, is a trigger for you to release unresolved emotions. So by not externalizing as much and by recognizing that you're feeling all of this emotion, it's not just because of the circumstances right now, or if you're feeling it, it's not permanent. Do you understand? It's just a clearing process that by internalizing and white lighting your body and doing a relaxation meditation or going into your heart, you will actually work through this emotion, and you'll wake up in the next couple of days and you'll find that you've purified it, so to speak. And then in doing that, you're recognizing that that you've cleared some of that unresolved karmic emotion genetically out of your body. So it's like you're chipping away at a core wounding, so to speak. And that then can help you raise your vibration and anchor more light into your body and consciousness. And it's not going to come back karmically and continue to trigger itself within you as much. So that's the first step, is that internalization process. And I'm going to do a few procedures in a moment to help us clear our patterning around this, so when we are being triggered over the next 5 months or 6 months, that energy will be there within us to support us. The other thing is to try and shift any kind of negative emotions or anger or frustration that's coming up through meditation. And when you do shift and change the emotion behind it, is to try and restore your faith in the universe, so to speak. So know that when your energy is high and you're clearing these lower emotions, that you are purifying your body and consciousness, and you're making more of a divine connection to the light. So you know, if you're a person who does affirmations, you can put an affirmation out there, or you can, reinforce your connection to spirit and work with the universal laws and principles that are coming through for you, and recognize that when things do happen, that there's a shift or change karmically now. And by just identifying all of the universe brought this through for me today, this is amazing. You're actually reconnecting and making a strong connection to the universe or spirit, so that light can come through more for you and continue to help you make the changes in your life. Not only your health and the way you feel, but generally in your life as a whole. Because with this tetrahedron activation that's happening astrologically, that's creating all of this purification that's going on within us, we've got free will, how much of a connection we make to the light at this point in time. And then that will sustain us for quite a while and help elevate our body, well, help us evolve, but elevate our reality. Because it's saying that the golden age has arrived, basically. This tetrahedron alignment is saying, hey, the light is coming in. We are crystallizing our body. Our blood is created from geometric formations of tetrahedrons to infuse light into the technology of our DNA, activating what we call our Merkaba and reconnecting us to the crystal cross grid of the planet. And however we're living in our consciousness, and the more connected we are in spirit, the more light's going to be infused into our body, and we are the ones that have that more light. Their life will change in the way of they will enter into the next golden age that's been co-created within our reality as a whole. So, when you look at the really big picture here, you can see how important this time is. It's not to be caught up in the karmic cycle of purification, to actually just in this moment, whatever this light's bringing up, because through the laws of physics, you have to clear within yourself negative aspects so positive aspects can be co-created within. There has to be that purification that has to occur, and that's why people are being ruffled at this point in time, because there is a beautiful and powerful tetrahedron activation, a cardinal cross activation, and very strong planetary alignments that are creating purification so that we can receive this light that's coming through. And basically the cards confirm that. We got raven, seahorse, and crab. So basically it's the raven technique that I'm going to be working with in the moment works with clearing your third eye chakra and any kind of schisms that could be coming through the third eye. And what that is that people are being impacted by the intensity of energy, and that's what's creating the high anxiety. So their third eye chakra is actually being impacted, and there can be some distortion being created within the third eye that we call schisms, because the energy, there's ultraviolet light and lots of light, and from this energy that's coming through, that can actually create an imbalance in their third eye chakra, and it creates then what we call a schism. And by removing the schism, the third eye chakra can heal itself, and then the whole brain can function differently. Then more energy can come through and support the changes on a biochemical level through the brain. That then will release high anxiety feelings that are coming through the mental plane or the central nervous system. And in doing that, I'll be also working with what I call Harmony Alignment Point 16. It creates a purification not only in the third eye chakra and goes in and helps the brain heal, but also the central nervous system. And it connects through and creates then a purification process in our ego. And that's going to help us not react from our ego from pain, but to actually come through from a higher perspective, so to speak, from a different consciousness, so that we're running our energy more in a pure way. And then that brings light into our body, ego and consciousness. So I'll be doing that procedure in a moment to support that high anxiety that can be coming through for some people. The other thing is the seahorse card came through, and that just says basically we've really got to stay at a time of balance right now, and I'll be doing a procedure that actually works with main lines of force in your body that helps you stay balanced, disregarding what's going on internally, what you're releasing, and how you're being impacted externally by the earth changes and the energies coming through. Now, the more balance that we can hold within us, the more we can sustain ourselves in a higher consciousness. So we're not swinging all the time emotionally, and we're not reacting so much from this old emotion that's coming up. And the more balanced we can stay also, the more we embody more of a state of wholeness and completeness. So feelings of self-love starts to birth more, so we don't feel a need to react from, issues that we're feeling or emotions that we're feeling. But also it can help our relationships balance out as well. So really a lot of the time if we can balance more within ourselves, more balance comes out within us and the world around us. And it usually brings good energy in regards to relationships. So if there's conflict issues going on with loved ones or children or, work colleagues, you'll find all of a sudden a magic will happen, that things will start to resolve themselves because you're embodying this divine sense of balance. And I'll be working with that by bringing your lines of force into what I call your lines of force into balance and helping these this state of what we call androgyny. The thing is to anchor light into your body and to enable your body to crystalline and form more through the light technology that's coming through. And the more light you embody, the more you enter the golden age and basically your life changes. You actually have to come into a state of androgyny. And to do that is you have to maintain balance, basically. So you can see if you're being triggered and you're swinging within your emotions, how it's a great opportunity to balance your energies and recognize the more balance you hold, the more whole and complete your life becomes, basically. It's one of the biggest teachings at the moment is that humanity as a whole, is having to grow into a state of androgyny. Every individual on the planet has to come more into a state of balance and hold that state of androgyny more within themselves if they want to go into more, of a state of enlightenment. And once you can embody more light, then that's what I said, your life changes also. You enter the golden age and things just start to happen. Manifestation and change comes through. And that comes back to our faith. Then again, it's to recognize Spirit's taking care of me today, the light's coming in, to recognize your part, to play for all of that you've done the work, you know what I mean? That it just didn't happen. You did the clearing, you're working through, you're ascending, and the universe is responding. So that's when you know everything's in a state of balance for you. And if you're doing that right now, it's amazing because the energy is so intense. Everybody's being triggered. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do on the planet right now or whether you're working on a spiritual level globally even, you're still being triggered because everybody is at a really divine connection to the light. So you're just embodying different degrees of light, so to speak. So everybody gets triggered, and that's why our health always comes up as our Achilles heel, because it helps us recognize what's going on or issues like, I'm not talking about just health as autonomy, what's going on in our body. It's mental health as well. If you've got high anxiety going on, you're recognizing that there is a clearing going on there, So everybody's feeling it. It's just that the more you master it right now, the more light you will embody, and that will determine how much karma you've cleared. And I do want to talk a little bit about karma in a moment more, but also now how much you've shifted vibrationally and entered more into a new reality, so to speak, and that's all being created through these energetic changes. Of course, crab came up, and that talks about your emotions. So these are 3 animal magic cards that saying really the way that you can work with yourself is to really work with your emotions, run the energy or bring yourself into balance, internalize, and we're getting a broader perspective of why this is all going on here. Just before I do that simple procedure to shift your patterning, so once I do this animal magic healing with these energies that I've picked up, which is confirming what we need right now because what's going on a larger scale, is to recognize that with these, the cardinal cross activation that's happening, July, August, and then September, the Saturn and Scorpio alignment, it's really recognizing that we're coming to the end of a cycle of karma. Now, we know through Saint Germain in the New Age way that karma doesn't really exist on the planet. What we're actually saying there is that when from 2012 onwards, basically, when you're born, you don't come in with the same genetic karmic imprint that we did prior to that because we were restricted to a third-dimensional reality. So we had to go through a certain amount of lessons and learning, and we had free will in how we dealt with that to break the cycle of karma. So people who were evolving or re-educating themselves and working with themselves energetically and shifting their consciousness prior to 2012 were actually clearing their genetics, purifying so they were no longer connected to karma where most of humanity was. But really what it's saying now that we're no longer restricted to that karmic cycle. But what's happening until we make that complete transition is even though we're not genetically imprinted by karma, we still have the cellular memory unconsciously of our own karma. So basically, the more we clear individually now, we're releasing ourselves, in ourselves from the karmic imprint because we still have that cellular memory. So all of this clearing that we're going through is reinforcing to us, hey, I'm no longer connected to karma just by going through the clearing process. And karma also, too, I just want to say that we have to, through reincarnation, get to a certain level of consciousness, a certain level of androgyny, anchor our light body before, in the past, this is what masters did to release themselves from the karmic cycle. So you have so many incarnations that people go through to evolve in their consciousness until they get to the point they're born and they're in a different state of consciousness. They're in the 5th dimension, basically, when the rest of humanity, or most people around them, are in the 3rd dimension. But what's actually happening now, at this very point in time, from July to December, you have the opportunity, for those who've done the previous work in this incarnation and previous past life incarnations, to say, I have finally completed the cycle of karma. I no longer will reincarnate back through a cycle of karma that I've hit the 5th dimension and I'm working beyond now, up through the levels. So that's how powerful it is right now. If you've done the work or in past lives or this life, or you're open to really working at it, you can completely end that karmic cycle that you'll put yourself on to release at this point. So it's pretty amazing. So basically, it's huge. It's really huge. What actually happens when we have amazing alignment like this is that there's so much light that's coming to the planet, and so much light has to be embodied in the planet for the planet to continue to evolve rapidly at this point in time. So, first of all, you have the more enlightened beings, like the big teachers and the big masters on the planet. They're holding a certain degree of that light. They're doing the work just like everybody else on a different level. They still feel the dynamics, but they're in a different consciousness. so they can work with it. But their ego still has to surrender. So they'll embody a certain amount of light. Now, in the Book of Revelations, they call it the 144,000. What that is a portion of humanity then has to hold a certain degree of light, gets dispersed to a portion of humanity. It's around 1%. And then the rest of humanity has to hold the rest of the portion of light that needs to be embodied. And like I said, for light to come to the planet, there has to be the purification. So this is when we're at our weakest point, where we're purifying, that we have to reconnect to the light and stay strong and live our belief system, basically. This is where we get tested, what we call initiation. And that's what I mean. But just to see these incredible times as a gateway opportunity for divine healing and divine ascension. And the universe then, basically the universe is like a big universal mind, basically, or clock. And what it does is however you react at that point and however much light you hold, it disperses then the changes. So if you've held more light, you'll obtain more change to the people who have held less light. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that then determines the universal changes on the planet, or how you enter into the next golden age. So, I mean, it doesn't matter how educated we come. At the end of the day, it comes down to a test of faith, basically. You're at an initiation time, and that's, again, what your Animal Magic cards are saying. Raven says this is a time of initiation. You're at a time of purification. Can you stay balanced, Seahorse is saying. Cancer says, yes, you're going to be a bit over-emotional at different times, but, hey, at the end of the day, look at the big picture, and by reconnecting and staying balanced, look what's going to happen. You're going to clear karma, genetic pain out of your patterning, and and become more enlightened. That's going to determine the changes that are going to come out over the next 12 months, basically, for you. That's magic, because it's going to come from the universe. It's not coming from your karmic disposition or anything to do with karma. It's a universal change. They're coming in. They need to co-create the next golden age. And the reason why is because we've evolved now. We no longer live in the third dimension. As from 2012, we have to start creating a fifth dimensional world because our planet has evolved. So this is how this co-creation comes about. So I just want to go into meditation now and do the prep work to enable all of this balance to come through for you. So if everybody can close your eyes, and when we're ready, we'll go into meditation.
Okay.
Okay, so just going into that inner state of stillness. We'll put some music on and okay, closing your eyes now. Bringing your mind into your heart chakra. And as you center your mind into your heart chakra, feel all anxiety and tension leaving your body. And all negative thought patterns and feelings that are coming through for you at this point in time is released into the light. And just feel the heart opening. And this beautiful emerald green frequency of light, the ray of pure alchemy, begins to resonate through from the center of your heart chakra. And all anxiety and tension leaves your body and consciousness as a pure ray of healing comes through into your heart center. And now sense, see, or feel this emerald light resonating out from every atom and cell of your being. Grounding you into the crystal grid system of the earth and connecting you to the universe. and all the healing energies that nature creates. All anxiety and tension now has left your mind. A deep sense of inner peace and harmony and healing has come through in your body. And you feel spiritually free as you reconnect to the light. Now tune into your third eye chakra, at your forehead area. Bring your mind to your third eye. And a pure white crystalline light begins to resonate from the third eye chakra. Creating a purification process within every atom and cell of your being as this white light resonates from your third eye. Any painful feelings stored within your emotions or your physical body that come through from the past is transmuted into the light. And a deep state of inner peace and harmony bursts itself within your whole body and consciousness as the light becomes stronger and stronger within your third eye. And all self-worth issues, self-judgment, all karmic pain is released. A deep state of inner peace of mind comes through as you feel yourself making a deeper connection to the light. You purify deep within your body, mind and spirit. And the power and the energy that you resonate is pure and from higher consciousness. And a deep state of balance comes through for you now. As a diamond appears around your body, silver frequency of light creates a diamond around your body. The silver frequency of light begins to resonate down from the heavens. And the silver line of force comes down through the central nervous system, the center of your vertebrae, right down through your body, down into your earth star 6 inches beneath your feet. And a silver frequency of light then begins to come down from the heavens, down through your left line of force, the left side of your body, bringing the feminine aspect of self into balance, your emotions, and anchoring right down into the earth. The silver frequency of light comes down from the heavens again, down through your right line of force, the right side of your body. And as it gently comes down and brings your masculine aspect of self into balance, feel this line of force coming right down through the right side of your body, down into the earth. And with the silver frequency of light now, you see light begin to resonate from your navel point, where your belly button lies, extending out each side, so it connects to the outer points of the diamond around your body. Now you've come into a state of absolute balance. Your emotional, mental plane comes into balance. Your body and consciousness is balanced. The state of androgyny bursts within you. You no longer react and externalize through your power center. You purify deep within yourself. You're clearing old pain from deep within at this incredible time. And now as you look up, you see a beautiful crystal pyramid appearing in the sky, the shape of a triangle. You're connecting to the planetary alignment of the tetrahedron that's forming in the heavens at this time. You see radiant white light bursting from the tetrahedron. And this light then comes through, and all hundreds and thousands of triangles of light birth itself. And you feel this triangular light, hundreds and thousands of triangles, pyramids, weaving through your body, crystallizing and forming your blood, crystallizing and healing every atom and cell of your being as this triangular formation of light, weaving hundreds of thousands of pyramids throughout your whole being on an energetic level, and extending right out into your aura, creating the geometric formation of light, bleeding that light into every atom and cell of your etheric body, physical body, and consciousness, connecting you to the Christ grid of the planet. And now as you sustain this technology within you and around you, allow the genetic changes within your DNA to come through and the karmic pain to release itself deep within your body and consciousness. And feel this deep sense of rebirth as the light weaves through into your body and your whole being. And just feel the healing occurring deep within your body, within your energetic system, and within your consciousness, as pure white light resonates out into your auric field. You are now suspended in the light. A huge Star of David now appears around your body with silver frequency of light, squeezing this energy, this light that's been created by the universe into every physical aspect of your being, embodying the light. Allow a divine healing to come through now in the moment. As the pain just washes away, deep sense of inner peace comes through into your heart. And now as the Star of David disappears around your body, a pure white frequency of light comes down from the heavens and creates the formation of a crystal cross over your whole body, crossing over at your heart chakra area. And the healing comes through even more so, ripples out into every bone, organ, nerve within your whole body and being. Through this healing today, you've made a deeper connection to the technology of light coming through. You're no longer connected to the karmic cycle. Purified and healed genetic pain deep within you, and at this incredible time on the planet, made a deeper connection to the light and what it co-creates within you, healing, and around you. Now see the light resonating out from every atom and cell of your being, out into your auric field and beyond. Feel the light that you're holding, not only healing you, but those around you, people that you love, wherever they are. This light resonates through and helps the changes come about, the healing and the ascension. Now feel that light going into the earth, healing the earth, and then out into the universe. It's through the light that the manifestation of change can come through. Feel it rippling out into the universe now, shifting the vibration of the planet and the universe as you embody the light. And as we come to the end of the healing, go into deep contemplation. Recognize that you've healed core wounding deep within your genetic makeup, releasing you from the karmic cycle, pain, death, and rebirth, shifting your vibration, purifying and healing you to embrace a higher vibration, birthing the atom, cadmium body, the fifth dimensional being, and elevating you into the new world that's being created around you at this time by the universe. And just surrender to the changes that will come through for you now. The healing within and the changes within your reality. And very gently now bringing yourself back into body and consciousness. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And recognize that the healing is still clearing old genetic pain from your body. And that means this energy will continue to run for the upcoming weeks and months. And surrender to that healing process. As you gently open your eyes. Coming more and more back into your body now as you open your eyes. And just feeling the pressure being released as you fully come back into body and consciousness. Grounding into your earth star, 6 inches beneath your feet. Seeing a silver line of force coming down from the base of each foot to your earth star, bringing you fully back into consciousness. And open your eyes when you're ready.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That was amazing.
So I think that this energy is going to keep running. So people might, you're still going to feel a little bit altered probably for the next couple of hours. So just being aware of that. Not fully in consciousness yet, more in an alpha state. But just also, just keeping in mind how big these activations are over the next 4 or 5 months and seeing it as a gateway opportunity for divine healing. And you've already worked with the energies in your patterning. So the technology is there for you. The energy will run for you. All you've got to do is set the intent. So if you do feel a bit of a wobble coming up or some fear coming up or dynamics playing out, just white light your body and let the technology come through that we've done today.
That felt like really deep work you did today.
Yeah, it was more what I call templating. So I was actually putting grids and templating energy into the etheric body so that it sustains itself and it's there for you as the activations come about, basically. So it's what I call templating.
Very lovely. Wow. And great tools for people to have at this time. It sounds like it's going to be an interesting ride for a while.
But a good ride, because you've got that incredible cardinal cross tetrahedron activations going on. So it's a divine process that's happening. So if we can stay balanced in ourselves and see that bigger picture, absolutely. It's a time of self-realization and reconnection, I feel, to the light, basically.
All right. Oh, that was good stuff. We've got about 4 minutes to the top here to talk about whatever you'd like to talk about to close out today.
I think just, everybody knowing that we have the website, www.transparencehealing.com. There's plenty of channelings on there for people to get on and read, and of course they can always go back to your archives and listen to these presentations as well. We have a very special Thoth presentation coming up in September and October, two-day or night event, one in September, one in October. People can book in remote for that, and then they get a link that they can listen to it live and go through the meditations. And that's going to be pure alchemy. So it's really going to help with health, but also with this technology coming through, Merkaba technology, to help people embody more their divine self through the teachings of Thoth. So I'll be channeling Thoth over those particular nights, and they're quite profound, actually, because when his energy comes through, some pretty incredible people experience some pretty incredible things, and they have amazing visions and so forth. So I have a really strong connection to Thoth, and I'll be working with that technology through those mass healings. And the new publication, we've got this great meditation for children's book and CD, and a great CD with new meditations I've brought out that are really relevant to this time, and you can work with them daily, weekly, fortnightly, and monthly. So there's different meditations there specifically that I've brought through to help people work with these incredible energies that are happening over the next few years. And they're very, very powerful, actually, and very effective, and that way they can constantly work on themselves the way that I've advised them in the CD itself. So they can just get onto the website and, download those particular meditations or buy the CD if they'd like. So, yeah.
All right, transferencehealing.com, right?
Yep, that's it. Yep.
Brilliant, as I struggle to get back in my body. Ooh, I always float along when you go out there, and I felt like you went real deep today, so it'll take me a couple hours back to bed.
Yeah, I felt a real divine process come through today. I just really, did the grid work and let the energies come through that are happening in the universe. So when that happens, there is a divine healing that comes in, and like I said, just people being aware of the big picture. They can even listen back, and when they're feeling if they do feel a bit overwhelmed, listen back to this interview and reinforce, hey, this is a great opportunity for me right now, and do the meditation again if they'd like.
Which we will have replayed throughout the month and available for free in our archives. And I look forward to the next time we have you back live. I'll tell you, it's powerful stuff and well needed right now around the world.
Thank you, Nicole. Enjoy.
All right, I did, and I will again, as many of us will. Thank you so much, Alexis. We'll talk to you next time you're back live with us.
Yes, thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. All the best. And
thank you.
Thank you so much. That was good. Yeah, having trouble getting back into my body, but it was awesome. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks to everyone who called in and enjoyed that live and in the moment with us. That was amazing, wasn't it? We are back. Let's see if I can get into my left side of my brain. Tomorrow, Thursday, okay, I'm in. Enlightenment in the City, El Terra, 11 a.m. Pacific time is where we begin. And Numerology Day is every Thursday on News for the Soul. Live, incredible intuitive numerology readings with Joseph Gabby, who's just extraordinary. He'll be here live at that time, and I'll be here for the love of God. And I might go and enjoy that again tonight later. Ooh, that was good stuff. All right, that was Alexis Cartwright, Transference Healing. We're back in the morning, as I said, 11 a.m. Pacific time, and we will see you then.
It's not just a show, it's a movement. You're listening to News for the Soul, the #1 life-changing radio show in the world according to Google and AOL, and the largest free life-changing audio resource on the web. That's NewsForTheSoul.com.
We'll be back with more life-changing talk radio in a moment. Did you know that News for the Soul is home to the largest totally free life-changing audio resource on the World Wide Web? And did you know that journalist and single mom Nicole Whitney is single-handedly making this freely available for you to hear? That's why your support is critical to help keep News for the Soul totally free. You can help in several ways. Firstly, you can tell everyone you know about News for the Soul. So many people out there still do not know about this totally free life-changing resource. So do us, yourself, and your friends a favor and pass it on today. Secondly, financial support for News for the Soul helps keep the show going, whether it's through advertising, donations, or purchases of our exclusive audio and video packages, like the one and only spoon bending kit, which will teach you how to bend metal with your mind for real. This support helps keep us on the air. Go to newsforthesoul.com now to find out more. We invite you to help us help the world, and thanks for tuning in. It's listeners like you who have made News for the Soul the #1 life-changing talk radio show in the world, according to Google and AOL. Together, we are already making a difference in our world. So thank you for listening, and thanks in advance for your support. Now, let's get back to the show.
Hear all of our previously aired broadcasts of News for the Soul online at newsforthesoul.com. Now let's get back to the show.
Okay, I think we're live. Having a little trouble with my headset there. I've got a belly dance class later, and my hair is a little too poofy. The challenges of a belly dancer. It's all good. And speaking of all good, another appropriate segue, it is time. And, you know, we go around the world so often now. Man, we've got people from everywhere on the shows. Spain, Birmingham, UK, Australia, New Zealand, holy smokes. So, of course, it makes it all fun having the different time zones to deal with, but, you know, we always find a way. Speaking of that, Alexis Cartwright, she's here. I've been looking forward to this because all the different energy stuff and what's been going on, especially this week, it's been really exciting. She is here. TransferenceHealing.com is the website, and every 2 weeks we get together and do some really cool stuff. That's going to happen right now in this hour. She's the anchor and channel and founder of the 7th Dimensional Healing and Ascension modality, Transference Healing. Born in Australia, she began her spiritual journey at a young age, bringing in through the guidance of the spiritual hierarchy a series of etheric and light body procedures which were expanded to create Transference Healing. Again, the website transferencehealing.com. And, you know, I find that this brings in a lot of energies that we haven't tapped into as yet. And I, for one, have been learning a lot of new stuff. So let's find out what's up today. Alexis, how are you?
Hi, Nicole. How are you? Sounds like you've been a lot going on there at the moment.
Yeah, it's been an amazing week. Energetically, it's been an amazing week. I don't know what's going on, but it's just amazing. I've been floating around on my happy cloud.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it is. It's great. How are you?
I'm good. Obviously feeling the intensity of the energy like everybody else and just going with the flow with that. So, yeah, it's just been a crescendo, I think, with everything happening leading up to the end of 2012. So it's very exciting.
It is that time. And going with the flow, as you say, that seems to be the key is letting go of the white knuckle grip to the sides of the river and that whole metaphor of that, just getting in the flow in the center of the stream.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
It's kind of like we're going whether we want to or not, right?
Absolutely. We talked a lot, I think, in the last interview about the importance of surrender right now with all these new frequencies coming through and just allowing ourselves to be in the moment and to allow these changes that need to occur within us, how vital that is right now to try and live that. Every time something comes up that's out of our control, know that we're in that point of surrender and divine reconnection, and to allow that process of the integrating of the new light that's coming through into our bodies through these incredible changes in the grid at the moment. So, just trying to reinforce that every day of our life at this point in time is really important. Interesting. Absolutely interesting. I was trying to tune into this morning to look at what we need to maybe look at today, and I got guided to actually talk more about the grid changes that are happening right now, and to look at possibly doing a small meditation that I tune people to the dolphin frequencies to allow a sense of flow to come through into their body and consciousness. So you said when you said that word, we need to go with the flow, I got reassured that I was on the right track, I think, in regards to working with this particular meditation. And just I feel looking at really what is going on really deep within us, which is an incredible divine rebirthing process, just really looking at how that's happening and, reinforcing once again that we're going through this incredible DNA decoding and recoding, and there's an incredible technology going on deep within us, and just to embrace that, I feel, and work with that a little bit more. And in doing so, recognizing that we are being reborn as the earth is changing and templating itself right now, and that what the hierarchy tell me that we are actually children of the light now as we come into this incredible time of rebirth leading up to end of 2012. And, in doing that, also recognizing that the children that have been coming through in the last few years and from this point on are coming in with a new genetic template, and I call them the crystal children. So we are a part of this whole unification of new souls that are coming in, and to look at that a little bit more today too, I feel. So, I feel the importance is really to really look at the global grid. I mean, when I started channeling information on the grid system in 1999, it was really kind of to support our understanding of that we do have a global grid matrix system, and that it's an integral part of in supporting the whole genetic makeup of our DNA and etheric body, and how that grid is actually shifting in frequency, which started in 1999. And that shift of frequency is anchoring more light subatonically within us, but also recoding our DNA and retemplating our whole etheric body into what I call the fifth-dimensional matrix system. And so in understanding more about the grid, recognizing it's there and how vital it is to attune to it at this point in time, to support the whole alchemical changes within our body and consciousness, is really rebirthing back onto the planet, really, our awareness, again, to the whole technology of light and matter and alchemy through attuning to this grid and its changes. And this is something that I feel we had an awareness of very early in evolution, at the time of Lemuria, and then ultimately through to Atlantis and beyond into where we are today. We've lost that connection, but in the earlier times we were very much aware of this light matrix system. So I feel part of our awakening process is to really reconnect to the grid again, and connect to it in the way that we're supporting our shift into Christ consciousness and awakening to all this incredible technology of light that's coming through. So just to explain a little bit about the grid, when I do talk about it, it does bring through an electromagnetic pulse. Some people can feel like they're kind of shutting down, their brain shutting down a little bit, and they go into alpha, and they can sometimes get go into quite a meditative state and not be able to stay conscious while I'm talking about it. And if that happens, just to go with that, it's just the energy. When I talk about the grid, it creates a frequency shift or a frequency pulse energetically, and people sometimes can even feel out of their body. But it's just the energy that's coming through when I talk about it. You're laughing, Nicole. I lost you last time, so I want you to stay here with me this time. So don't worry. It'll be fine. It's this kind of technology, to understand the grid, you can't think with it on a mental level. You just can't do it. Your brain just can't process the energy behind the words. So you do have to just go into your heart and just allow whatever you need to absorb in your consciousness to do so. The fact is you're still getting it. If you're getting a bit altered or out of your body, you're still receiving the energy of what I'm saying, and you're probably understanding it on a much deeper level because your brain isn't trying to dissect it so much. But just to explain that, really, the grid, we have a lot of wounding around our awareness to it because, the grid is sustained energetically within our dimension through the technology of light. So it exists, but we can't see it. We can't feel it with our sensory perception and our conscious mind. But if we open up our intuitive awareness and reconnect more to our higher self, and go deeper into our heart to allow that process and surrender and just receive, whatever perceptions or levels of awareness come through, we start to tap into it. And in doing so, we're attuning to this grid. And it exists on a higher frequency level. So it's there, it's always been there. It's just that the conscious mind can't actually absorb it or understand it, or sensory perception can't sort of tap into it. But once you surrender and tune more into your higher self, you then start to feel it. And it's sustained within our dimension by the technology of light. And this light comes through from sound frequencies that resonate and light frequencies from crystals. So all the crystals of the earth resonate this light frequency, and the light that resonates on a cosmic level through the stellar systems that we have in our cosmos, and the ultraviolet light, and then on top of that, higher frequencies of light that resonate out from crystals and stellar light, unified together into creating a whole matrix system that weaves within and around the earth and expands right out like a huge spider web beyond our cosmos into space itself, and then beyond again through time and space, and interconnects up with all these other webbing or light systems that connect into other worlds. And even I talk about in my Doorways book how certain star constellations are like cosmic doorways or grid point connections into other dimensions. This light actually filters through this grid system from other worlds and shifts in frequency, basically, like the light. Prisms of light resonate through, shift in frequency as it comes into the third dimension, and just keeps filtering down through into the earth and supporting the whole technology of matter itself, I guess. This whole incredible webbing system links up. Like I said, it's like a global grid light system. And it links up at certain points to create that matrix. And those particular points is where the sacred sites are located in the world. The ancients were aware of this gridding system. This information and technology was passed down from Atlantis. And they attuned to it too. Their awareness was more heightened. So they were aware where there was higher vortexes of energy, just as we are when we look at different places like Mount Shasta and so forth. And a lot of the sacred sites are located where these grid point connections connect up. And I talk to them like doorways, because if you go to a sacred site or you're standing on a powerful energetic vortex, you're more receptive to receiving the grid line frequencies of the earth. And at that point, the technology of light that's coming through from specific stellar systems, and you can actually weave that technology of light more into your body, and that's why people get quite altered, or they have visions or experiences when they actually go to these sacred sites, because it's this light technology that's weaving through. What happened with Atlantis was when Atlantis, final stages of the sinking of Atlantis, a lot of the earth eruptions that occurred at the time came from the misuse of the technology that they were aware of concerning the grid. So they utilized crystals a lot for power and energy, and their whole the way that they built the technology of travel and power, and so the crystals were an intricate part of their lifestyle, even for healing and meditation. They could shift the frequency of their body through crystals because they were aware of the light and technology that they held. But what happened was they started to misuse that knowledge, I guess, and utilize it to do what they choose to do with that. And I feel that they went against the universal laws concerning nature. And it was through this whole misuse of light and this technology that the grid became unbalanced, and the frequencies shifted, and this is how the earth began to disrupt more, I guess, and descend more into matter. And our whole etheric body, which is a very complex system of meridians, and I think we've got about 565 chakras throughout our body. And we've got our main chakras, and we've got our upper chakras, and then we've got our meridian system and our acupuncture point system. This is all part of the technology of our etheric body. And it is the skeletal system, the energetic system of our physical mass or our physical body. While the DNA and this whole etheric system is sustained within our body through the grid matrix system. So it's the skeletal system of the energy system of our body. So without the grid, we simply wouldn't exist. The earth wouldn't exist. Our dimension wouldn't exist. And we wouldn't exist on earth, basically. We wouldn't be able to form and coexist within this reality and this dimension as a whole. So what actually happened in 1999 was there was a frequent cross-activation that shifted the crystalline core of the earth into F-sharp, or I talked about that in a previous interview, and we're now in what the ancients call the time of no time. And right now there's a huge amount of energy being dispersed. And this is all coming through the grid, basically. The crystals are in a different frequency, so they're shifted and they're resonating more light, and they're opening up their technology once again on a intricate level and energetic level to support the healing of the grid. And then that's how I predicted a lot of the earth changes that were to come to pass from 1999 to 2012, is actually the earth feeling this incredible healing process that's going on. So the grid is actually healing, and the earth is responding to that. And in doing so, the technology of the grid is also evolving now. So that technology or those changes within the grid is bringing through what we need for our DNA to recode itself. And at the end of 2012, around the 21st is the final transition. We then complete the transition into what I call the fifth-dimensional template. The children that are being birthed today or in the last few years, I call them crystal children because they already have this technology in their body. They have access to more light, and their level of awareness, they're much more open, and they can see beyond more and feel beyond more in more of an unconditional state of being because they're more interconnected through the grid energetically to matter, light, and beyond. You know, they've got this different level of awareness to what humanity has had up until 1999. So they're in a different consciousness. But in saying that, they're more susceptible or they're more impacted by global consciousness at the moment because it's still struggling with the transition. So even though they're coming in with more light and they're more enlightened, if they're in an environment where they're being supported energetically and that family environment is more open on a heart level and more humanitarian and practice on more of a spiritual level in their day-to-day life, well, these children just can sustain that awareness and open even their family unit up more to what's actually this new level of consciousness. They hold this light. Whereas if they're born in a family unit that's struggling and is still living the old patterning and the old consciousness, they struggle holding it and they can get some light body symptoms coming through. But in saying that, they're very strong in their sense of connection and they're very determined to hold that level of awareness because they just believe deep within the heart on their consciousness is just so much more open. They have a deep level of faith and awareness to what's actually going on, so they can hold on to that. And in doing that, so they're changing the consciousness of their family unit. The humanity that's awakening quickly, the ones that are mastering now and going with the flow of these changes with the grid and allowing the technology of light to weave through more, and they're dissembling a lot of old archetypal thought patterns and old belief systems to enter into the new world. Well, they shift in frequency. So these children can see them for who they are, and the elements respond a lot more to those who are holding this new template deep within their heart. Their whole technology of the DNA is recoding with more ease. They're making the transition with less light body symptoms. They're living the golden age more so, or making the changes to live within the golden age more so as the world changes around them. And it's interesting when you tune in from the higher levels, you can actually see the light of these people as they become awakened and how they unify as a soul group with these children of the light, these souls that are coming in. And collectively, they're holding this new unconditional love in their heart and new levels of awareness. And that's anchoring more light onto the planet and supporting the transition. So this gridding system that's changing into what we call the fifth-dimensional template. Once you hit a certain frequency or consciousness, you got to that certain point of reconnection and, you know, you've let go of a lot of old patterning and a lot of old energy and archetypal way of being to enter into this new consciousness, your heart. You go into that second chamber of the heart that we talked about. and we worked with in the last interview with Lainey Nada. And as you tap into that second chamber that little bit more, the pink ray starts to come through a little bit more, and you're just in a different consciousness. You're more open and more receptive, and in doing so, you unify more in your consciousness. You're just so much more unconditional. Boundaries start breaking down in so many ways. Your old perceptions and your fears start releasing, and you have the courage to make the changes that you need to make. You have the courage to follow your heart more and see the bigger picture. You don't need to feel separate and judgmental in regards to other people's choices, and unify more on an unconditional level. And, all of those kind of boundaries start breaking down, and you're living more in a state of unconditional love and that higher level of consciousness. And as that does, this new gridding system that's birthing itself is also birthing the golden age, the new realities, and what I call them worlds that are coming into manifestation, not only within our reality as a whole. Everybody's changing and creating their new realities. That's part of the golden age. But, collectively, as we have more people doing that, that's reestablishing a whole new way of living on the planet. That is the golden age, the next golden age, where we're much more attuned to the earth and the elements, and we can heal ourselves through frequency a lot more effectively, and we're living without the fear and state of separation and becoming more connected to the light. And in that state of unification, even breaking down the boundaries between space and time, connecting to loved ones, not feeling the grief as much, or that state of separation from loved ones, seeing them and communicating more with them in the etheric, and even beyond, even to connecting more to the spiritual guides and, masters and angels and elementals that are all part of our incredible world that we live in, that we just don't open up to. So, it's really important to be aware that this grid is healing itself, and it's creating a ripple throughout the universe. And it's a beautiful transition, because finally this light can anchor through again, and we can receive it deep within our being. We are literally being reborn with the earth as it makes this transition, and this is all because this grid is actually healing. And also to these sacred sites, some of them have churches built on them now, but they're all part of these grid point connections are located within these sacred sites and locations around the world. The light is getting stronger, so people are being drawn more to travel or to go to certain locations, and in doing so they're receiving a light transmission. They're anchoring specific frequencies into their body and consciousness, because these particular power point locations around the globe are becoming more intensified at this point in time. So when you look at, or you start to allow yourself to feel the grid and open up your awareness to it, knowing that it's doing everything you need it to do within you, recoding the DNA and allowing this whole incredible rebirth to occur within you, providing you the technology that you need to rebirth what we call the atom cadmium body, the body of light. And just in doing so, opening up your awareness, and you're connecting more, and your higher sensory perception is opening up. You're living in a different consciousness, and in doing that, you're embracing more of the Christ consciousness deep within you, with this new level of awareness that's coming through. I really did, when I was in Hawaii last year, I felt a lot of grid changes occurring in the earth, and there was a lot of happening with earth changes at that time. And I brought through a little meditation to do, just attuning us to the dolphin frequencies. But in doing that, the audio frequencies of dolphins can come through this meditation. We don't necessarily have to be swimming with them or listening to the sound of dolphins, although if you do have a CD at home with dolphin music on, it's good to listen to it every now and again, just to help you to attune to their frequency. But they connect clairaudiently to the sound frequencies of the grid, and by attuning to their consciousness, or we can actually energetically attune to the grid and receive a direct transmission in meditation to the grid. And as you know, the dolphins allow you to go with the flow. Once you attune to a dolphin, you simply begin to relax, don't we, and automatically go into our heart, because they hold that consciousness of absolute reconnection and to the light and opening up to new levels of awareness by simply surrendering. So that's what's happened automatically as you attune to the dolphin frequency. You will automatically just go into a state of surrender, and the grid can then you can have this divine transmission directly through meditation from the grid. Now, when you do that, you're clearing distortions genetically from the DNA as you weave more light directly through into the DNA and the etheric dimensions of your body. And you're coming into a state of oneness and inner peace and harmony at that particular point, at that time in meditation. And by holding on to that feeling or experiencing it through meditation, you're actually then remembering that on a cellular level. So next time an issue comes up, or which is becoming more rapid, to push us into this point of surrender, because we're just not, if issues are coming up or dynamics, there's something we have to become conscious of, you know. So maybe we're just not doing the right thing or going down the right path, or maybe the universe is trying to get us to move in another direction, or to listen, or to speak to us, you know. At those particular points, we just need to just stop and listen. And I feel by experiencing this little meditation and just on a cellular level, remembering that point of unification, when you do, we all get to that, all those little points in time where we have to just say, okay, I'm letting go of control now. Obviously there's something here I need to look at or listen to, and I'm going to go into that point of receptivity. This cellular memory will come up, and it'll help you just to do that in the moment automatically. You know, it's like a programming, I guess.
Yeah, like everything else.
To allow you to do that. So we might just go into that meditation now, I feel, just to get that awareness back to the grid and honor it for what it's doing and what it is, and be aware that this incredible technology is happening, and it's time now to go with the flow, with the new energies coming through for the co-creation of your new self and your new reality, because whatever needs to go needs to go. It's not serving us anymore. It's not the way of the future. It's old energy, and to just embrace that, and that's where we're starting to have more faith and trust, you know, instead of the fear of the changes. So why don't we go into that meditation now? If we can put some music on, we might attune to it.
Okay, we're ready. Here we go.
Just feel yourself now going into that inner state of stillness, clearing your mind. And just attuning now into the heart. Attuning yourself, or bringing your mind into your heart chakra. And as you center into the heart, all thoughts and feelings, any negative patterning that needs to be cleared is released into the light. And you begin to feel the vibration of love birthing itself deep within your heart. And as you feel the vibration of pure love, all negative emotions, painful emotions of the past are purified. And you
feel a deep level of reconnection to the elements, to the light, to the cosmos, and to everyone around you through this incredible vibration of love. New levels of awareness begin to open deep within you. And you begin to feel, sense or see crystalline frequencies of light, ley lines of light beginning to weave within you and around you. These ley lines of light engulf you and reconnect you to the incredible global grid matrix that encompasses both the Earth and cosmos. Breathe into your heart chakra deeply and feel these waves of unified cosmic frequencies of light that sustain the whole breathing system of the Earth and cosmos, pulsating throughout your body, supporting every part of you. Now attune to the dolphin spirit rays and sound frequencies that sustain themselves within our universe to assist you in embracing the sacred flow of the grid. Sense and feel yourself now swimming in the cosmic sea of light as the dolphin frequencies come through, allowing you to embrace the grid and the sacred flow of the grid as it moves through you, healing and transforming you, rebirthing into this new level of close consciousness, birthing deep within you. Feel all the atoms and cells within your being absorbing this light as the light weaves through your body, shifting the vibration of your body and consciousness, dissolving all negative and painful emotions and thoughts into the light. Feel the light expanding out as you tune to the grid. Feel this connection in the now to the grid. The technology of light that weaves within and around you through the grid. Now you feel yourself cocooned and becoming one with the light and all that is. Now say in your mind's eye, quietly within your mind's eye, I activate from my heart a divine connection to the radiant white light of creation. I center and align myself to the healing and creative power of the global grid matrix. I become unified with the global grid cosmic life force of light. That pulsate throughout the universe. I heal and reconnect to the light and to my starlight families of all galaxies, dimensions and worlds. through grace and with ease. I harmonize and become one with the universe. Through the embodiment of light, I become an indestructible, pulsating force of divine light. And it is done. Aye, aye, aye. And as you gently come back into your body and consciousness, allow this light to continue to recode the DNA, the grid to filter through into your atoms and cells, light to anchor in, and your body to rebirth. This incredible time of transition. To reconnect to the light, open your heart, and anchor higher consciousness deep within you, so you can live the new golden age coming into manifestation. And just open your eyes when you're ready. And just be aware that as you're coming back into consciousness, that technology is still changing within you as you rebirth through the integration of light that you're absorbing now in your body and consciousness. So just allow that light to continue to filter into your body as you're coming into opening your eyes and coming back into consciousness again.
Wow. That felt very good.
It's still running. You can feel it. That meditation I do have up on my website if people want to go in and do it as a daily meditation. If they're feeling just a lot of pressure building up and some of the light body symptoms coming through, or they're feeling things are out of control, or they're getting forced to just still themselves and listen or reconnect to the light and just surrender more in the moment, you can go in and get that off the website and just practice that for a few days. Do it once a day for a few days, and you'll find that everything will shift within you, and that state of surrender and receptivity will come through, and then just things begins to flow then, and you can let go and just trust in that change, that healing and that change. And that's how I see change. It's a healing process to me. It's not something that's out of our control. It's actually something that's coming through and creating a healing. So they can go in and do that. That's actually on the Transference website, on the channeling section, the channeling for the new predictions for 2011 and 12. So if they just click onto the channeling section, it'll come up and they can do that meditation at their own pace.
TransferenceHealing.com. That was beautiful. Wow. I'm always blown away at how literal and physical these changes are.
Well, it's, to me, this change that's happening on the planet is incredible. It's been prophesied throughout the ages. You know, I feel that we're all here to reconnect to our divine self right now through this global rebirth and understand the sacred teachings of alchemy and light as we're being reborn now. So we're here for that reason, that we're at the beginning of a whole new earth, a whole new dimension birthing itself. How incredible is that? You know, and it's all happening within us. So if it's happening within us and we attune to it, we're seeing the changes and we're participating with them. And, you know, we're seeing things that we would never normally see, you know, energetically, or even the profound impact of creation that's happening. How else will we learn this if we weren't here now?
You know, I mean, everyone feels it too, even with their quote-unquote into this stuff or not. Everyone's feeling it.
Absolutely, because anything that needs to shift or any new perceptions that need to open up or heart energy, healing of the heart and the emotions, people are going to be pushed now to do that. But in saying that, once they surrender and allow the divine synchronicity through, the magic happens and they can experience things they could never normally experience, except being on a planet in a time like this. So, yes, the whole of humanity has to make a shift of consciousness in their heart. There's a certain level of awakening that has to occur within all humanity, because collectively we've got to unify to hit a certain vibration. So there's got to be a certain amount of emotional healing and old perceptions and thought patterns, negative frequencies dispersed, so this global transition can happen. And then there's also those who are awakening at a much more rapid state, and they're the ones I talk about here to study the essence of self-mastery, to begin relearning all the sacred teachings of lost time and space. And that, to me, is the teachings of the mystery schools, or the mysteries revealing themselves through those who are mastering this light technology at this time. So, everybody's going to be feeling it, absolutely. That it doesn't have to be a negative imprint. If they can just simply try and get to that point of surrender at times of change, allow themselves to go with that change and know it's divinely orchestrated. And once you make that transition or make that step, everything amplifies and gets better. It's just allowing the universe in, and just allowing the fear to go in that moment each time. Like you're chipping away at it, really. The old reality is just assembling, and the new one's being rebirthed through our own divine reconnection to the light at this point in time. It's all happening now. It's interesting, we go through these struggles of this transition because we're human and we feel so deeply, but really when we're going to look back in hindsight and go, oh my God, as we do, why did I struggle with that? I mean, this transition from 1999 to 2012, from the higher levels through the spiritual hierarchy, they understand our pain, this purification and this transformation. But from that higher level of consciousness, it's only it's just a short point in time. It's not these 12 years that we're struggling through. It's actually, to them, it's just like a moment. But because the transition's so big for us, and there's so many people on the planet having to make this incredible transformation for the planet to heal and the whole dimension to evolve, we needed this, what they call the time of no time, this 12 years to assimilate it all, basically. So if we can
Why
go
exactly
with
is it called time of no time?
Well, it's basically we're all in what we call an alpha state, like we're a mild meditative state. That's the only way we can surrender a little bit more. When you're in the fourth dimension, the second, fourth, sixth, and eighth dimensions are what we call time of no time. So it's a time of reconstruction or rebirthing where we're in a different consciousness, and it's more about learning, and it's more about, so if you're in the sixth dimension or the eighth dimension, you're at a higher level of evolution, and you see it for what it is, and the reality changes are much more profound and blissful and heavenly-like, and you're simulating a lot of knowledge and awareness. Once you hit a certain level of consciousness, you then go into the next dimension. So if you were in the fourth dimension, you would enter the fifth. So what's actually happening now, we're all in that altered state of rebirthing. Nothing is really, that's what I say to people, nothing is stable right now. Investments or land, or just don't get attached to things at this point in time. Just allow the transformation and work on your inner self. We're in a time period where nothing is solid. You could work all your life to invest in a property and it could just be taken from you, do you understand, by weird circumstances, if that's what it's going to take. So it's really just about being in the moment right now and understanding that your internal process is so much bigger than anything else right now. But once you hit the fifth dimension within yourself, and as the earth hits the fifth dimension, things become more solid and tangible. So your consciousness and your reality begins to form within the world around you. And this is what happens if you're in the sixth dimension, which is on a higher plane. You would then go on to the seventh dimension, which is worlds that are more ethereal, but on a higher vibration to Earth. But you're experiencing it through matter. It's more solid. So these, fourth, sixth, and eighth of what we call the time of no time. These are dimensions where the Earth really isn't in the same dimensional reality. That dimension that we're in, up until 1999, is dissolving. That's why there's so many earth changes. The economy's crashing and changing. Everything's changing. There is a new world birthing itself within the etheric. We enter that new world as we embody this new fifth dimensional template or this light body system in our DNA. So there's that awakening more rapidly to this new level of consciousness and this new lifestyle or golden age reality. They're living that new world, so they're forming it slowly, and as the Earth is actually coming into the fifth dimension, and it'll stay in the fifth dimension for quite a long time. But it'll be a different world, you know what I mean? Our whole philosophical way of living is going to evolve as a human race, thank God. Pain, struggle, and suffering is coming to an end to a certain degree.
Well, it had to, didn't it? I mean, come on. But that's right. That's exactly what it feels like when you tune in energetically. It's like the ground we're standing on is ripply and nothing is solid. That's why letting go feels so good, because then you sort of go with the waves of energy coming through.
Exactly, and that's when the magic happens. And when you experience that moment of magic, you'll always have it. It'll be a realization, or it'll be a heart feeling, or it'll be a healing process that's shifting in you, or an obstacle begin to shift around you, and something you'll start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Something will change. It's been negative patterning there, and that's your bliss. That's when you make that incredible realization. And then you've got to remember that on a cellular level, just absorb that. And you're saying to the universe, well, thank you. Yes, you're acknowledging that. And you're more open for that next transmission of energy as it's birthing itself. Because you've got to remember, everything's alive right now. I mean, the crystals are still shifting in frequency, and the stellar energies are still getting stronger. And earth changes are still intensifying, because that's the grid shifting in frequency and as it heals itself. So you're going to have these transmissions more frequently. And thank God for that. That's when people feel the fear coming up, or they start to fight the change because it feels that they don't know what's going on. Their subconscious, the control mechanisms come up because of the fear of change. But if you can just remember that, okay, I'm having a light transmission from the grid, from the universe. Okay, let's still myself, go into that point of surrender. Maybe do that meditation until you get to a point where you can just allow that